Well, with that, I guess we want to welcome everybody to the call tonight. This is the 2014 Indiana Artisan Marketplace webinar series presented by Indiana Artisans for Indiana Artisans, and we want to welcome all of our speakers and all of the artisans to the call from across the state of Indiana and the Midwest, wherever you're calling from. We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to bring in Eric Freeman, who's going to host the call tonight. And Eric, welcome to the call.
Jeff, thanks. I just have 3 or 4 quick little bits of housekeeping I want to take care of on the front end while everybody's still fresh and paying attention. And topping that list is a welcome to the applicants to Indiana Artisan. As you all know, we're having a special January jury panel session, and it made a lot of sense to reach out to those applicants because if their work jury's in later this month, they'll have the opportunity to participate in the marketplace. And to say, join us for tonight's webinar, and why don't you just go ahead and join us for the whole 7 series as well as the Bruce Baker workshop later this month. So even if the work doesn't jury in, part of Indiana Artisan's mission is to help create a statewide community of artists and food producers, and this seems to be a smart way to go about doing that. So I wanted to just welcome all the applicants who are on the line tonight. I also want to thank the speakers. For those of you who were with us at the State Fairgrounds in October, we used that phrase, a rising tide lifts all ships, and one for all and all for one. Kind of the direction Indiana Artisan is going to move toward in 2014. And the speakers tonight are demonstrating that. They've prepared for tonight's webinar, and they are every bit as busy as the rest of us. And they decided to jump in on this first one, which is a little bit scary. And I really appreciate them providing the leadership and taking the lead on tonight's webinar. I'm going to introduce them in the order in which they're going to speak. Jan McCune, who owns Sun Valley Studio in Muncie, is a jewelry maker. She'll go first because she was the first one to send her slides for tonight's webinar. That's how that decision got made. Terry Armstrong, who is a watercolorist in Warsaw, is going to go second. Anita Hopper, who owns Refined Originals, which is a repurposed and recycled leatherwork studio in Indianapolis. She'll go next. And those are the 3 art artisans. And then we're going to move to the food artisans. We're going to start with Donna Adams, who is the owner of Windsorwald Winery in Bristol. And then Judy Coe, who owns Coe's Handmade Noodles in Lynn, Indiana. When we promoted this, we said Alexa Lemley and Samantha Olick, the co-owners of 240 Sweet Artisan Marshmallows, would be part of the panel tonight. They traveled together over the holidays, and they both got the same flu bug. So Sam emailed me today and said, we just can't do this. So they won't be part of the panel tonight, but if you would, just keep them in your thoughts. These 5 are the panel tonight because they regularly participate in the marketplace, and they regularly gross 10 times the booth fee or more. And that's important because only about 15% of the artisans, not the Kentucky folks who join us, but about 15% of the artisans who participate in the marketplace gross 10 times their booth fee or more, which means 85% don't, or somewhere south of that. And so we wanted to help those who are going to participate in the marketplace this year increase their chances for success, and maybe even encourage a few of the artisans who haven't registered yet to come and join us and increase their chances for success. Bruce Baker, who's going to come from Vermont and talk with us in person on the 28th of January, talks about setting the goal of grossing at least 10 times your booth fee in any event that you participate in, not just the marketplace, but any event. And a couple of the artisans have told me that they have kind of advised that this is setting the bar too high and I probably shouldn't promote that. And they make a good point, but because Bruce is going to mention it on the 28th, I wanted to at least put that thought in your mind tonight, not necessarily the goal, but the thought, so that between now and the 28th, you can be thinking about, what do I need to do to gross 10 times my booth fee, which will be $3,000 this year, since our booth fee was $300. Let me also say that in last year's marketplace, the highest grossing artisan grossed just a little bit more than $8,000, which is 30 times the booth fee. So it is possible to go 10 times and much higher. Be thinking about it between now and the 28th when Bruce comes to talk with us, and think about the questions that you might want to ask Bruce in order to get yourself to that financial goal or position, if that's where you want to be. All of tonight's speakers have slides. I really want to thank Jeff Bell. Again, when we met in October, we talked about the rising tide lifting all ships and one for all and all for one. And Carol Bell is an Indiana artisan potter, and Jeff is her husband. And Jeff is one of her resources that she said, hey, I've got this great resource I can lend to everybody, and that's this webinar technology. So Jeff, thanks for hosting this tonight, and Carol, thanks for making Jeff available to us. And all of you have resources that you can loan to the rest of the family like this. And so if you do, please do that, and let me know what those are, and we'll all take advantage of them. So Jeff, thanks. I think that's it. We'll begin with Jan McCune. Quickly, for those of you who are Pacers fans, we will be off the call by 8:30. Our goal is to do this within an hour, so you can at least catch the end of that game. And I think that's all I've got. Jan, are you ready to take it away?
Yes, I am. I'm Jan McCune, and here is a picture of me in my studio, which is one of my bedrooms. And I just figured it's nice to see who's talking. I am a new artisan. I got in November of 2012, and I've just done one marketplace, and I had no idea of what to expect because I really don't even do very many craft fairs or events. I mainly have my work in galleries, but it just far exceeded what I thought it would. And it was a little more than 10 times my booth fee that I earned. And I was absolutely thrilled, and I'm looking forward to it this year. So next slide, please. This is just kind of a collage of some of my work. I was juried in on my pendants, but I also sold my bracelets and earrings at the marketplace. And I wanted to give you an idea on the cost, like my selling points. My earrings went from $30 to $40, so that's kind of the low end. The bracelets start at $45 and go to $200, and pendants started at $80 and went to $200. And I think there was kind of something for every price point. And I also, just on the spur of the moment, brought extra chains and cords, and some of them started as low as $10 and went to $60, and I ended up selling tons of different kinds of chains. Like, people wanted to have the one that came with the pendant, but then they wanted to buy an additional one with a different look. So one of my bits of advice is have a wide variety of price points so that you hit different people. Because some people just came and bought one pair of earrings, and then other people would come and do kind of a whole ensemble. So I think that's for that slide. Next one. Okay. Since I knew absolutely nothing, I went to last year's workshop in the winter and took advice from everybody. And a number of people told me you have to be able to take credit cards. And I am not tech savvy whatsoever. I had a real dumb phone, so I ended up getting a smartphone and getting a Square register, and it was fantastic. It took me a while to practice with it, so I wouldn't be freaked out when I was at the marketplace, but I would say at least 75% of my customers paid with credit cards. So it was really, really worth having that. And I was all nervous that when I got to the day of the marketplace, I would do something wrong and forget how to do anything. And luckily, Megan Wynn, who had talked me into using the Square, was very close to me at a different booth. So if I ran into massive problems, I could run over and get her, and she would help me with the techie part. So that's very important to be able to take credit cards. Next slide. Then somebody else gave the advice of setting up your booth in your living room or your garage or someplace else ahead of time so you could figure out how you wanted everything. So first thing, I went to Menards and bought a piece of carpet, cut it to size of 10 by 10, and then my daughter and I must have spent 4 or 5 hours shifting things around and moving tables and figuring out exactly how I wanted mine to look. And then I took pictures of it and brought the pictures along so I could, because that way I could remember what I was doing. And obviously this year I don't think I have to be quite that crazy, but it was very, very helpful. Next slide. That's just some more. You can see my living room in the background, and I had it all figured out how I wanted it. Next slide. Okay. Besides setting it up, getting square, the really important thing is to invite everybody you know. And I have made a database of all of my customers. I've been doing this for about 5 years. So all of my customers, friends, people I go to church with, people I'm in different clubs with, if I have their email, I sent them an e-bite. If I had their snail mail address, I sent them a postcard. And that was well worth it, because I had a huge cadre of people coming down from Muncie to visit, plus people that I'd met maybe 2 or 3 years ago at some craft fair showed up. So that is definitely worth it. The other thing that I did, we were given 3 free tickets, and taking someone else's advice, I sent them to my 3 top customers during the year. And then they came and bought a lot and brought friends. Then I don't have Facebook, but my husband has Facebook, and he stuck it on his page, and we just got the word out as much as we could. Next one. Next slide. Okay. On the day, for me, the most important thing was that I had 2 people at all times. One person is the business person, and that was either my husband, or I talked my sisters into helping, my kids into helping, and they would do 4-hour shifts while I would be there the whole time. But the business person does the square, they package things, get email addresses or addresses from people. And I spent the entire time on my feet talking to people. And I'm honestly kind of an introvert, but I get into teacher mode, and I can just go out and talk to people and, ask them questions about themselves, or ask them what they want to know about the work, tell them about the stones, and so on. And one thing I noticed, that if you have like 2 people or 2 or 3 people at your booth, all of a sudden everybody wants to come over to your booth to see what's happening. So it would just kind of funny. They would kind of mob the place. It was just fascinating to me. Let me think. Okay, I think last slide then. Okay, this is preparing for this year. As soon as I got home, if I had their email address, I sent them a personalized thank you. If I had their snail mail address, I sent a personal thank you. And I actually try to remember something about the person. And one of my stories is, I remembered that this one girl was buying a piece for her grandmother. So I mentioned that in the thank you letter. Well, she got so overwhelmed by getting the thank you letter that she sent a thank you back to me, telling me how much her grandmother loved the piece and so on. And I've also had a number of other people just come up to me and say they were so blown away to get a personal thank you from somebody. And that, I mean, really builds kind of a loyal customer base. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Terry, you want to go?
Yeah, my name's Terry Armstrong from Warsaw, Indiana. I'm a watercolor artist, and I've been painting for about 35 years. We've been doing art shows for about 15 years, and I do think that doing the number of shows that we've done throughout Indiana and Michigan, that is a big help, though, because we've got a lot of customers that do return. And we do, the percentage, I don't know exactly what that was, of return customers at Indiana Artisan. It was still pretty high. And to backtrack a little bit, the first year we'd done the show, we did make all our booth fees and made a little bit. And but like any show, you've got to do it at least 3 or 4 times, any outdoor show anyways, just to find out. And almost always they've picked up a lot. And it certainly did this last year. I mean, very surprising. We were a little worried about inventory on our original, in fact. And it was a big plus. It's a great show. It's indoor. It's just a perfect place for it. But just like Jan, a number of the things she does, we do the same thing. We send out lots of cards. No people in the Indianapolis area or north of there, and try to get as many of those things out. And we haven't done a whole lot with email, but I think that's a great way to get the word out, too, for the shows. As far as pricing, they go anywhere from $10 for a print on up to $3,000 or more for an original painting. But I think you do have to have the smaller end pieces. And, again, I'm discussing more flat art paintings and that type of work. So as far as prints go, and if anyone needs a resource for Giclée style printing, I have a great resource up in Michigan City, and would be happy to help anyone with that. They're excellent. It's perfect printing. I can barely tell the original from the print. And I do think if you're going to do prints and things like that, duplications, they need to be as high quality as possible. Looking very organized and professional. I have a slide there of the booth so you can see that. We did put a lot of work in there, but I think you need a lot, but tastefully done. And we took a double booth, which I think helps too. It gives you more room. As far as running the show itself, just like Jan, my wife is really the big marketing person for the whole thing. So I tend to sell the art, and she does more of that. So having a second person there is definitely a benefit. As far as the original pieces, paintings are hard to sell, I think, as compared to pottery and jewelry and that sort of thing, as far as fine art goes. And I think, again, it has to be framed professionally, so we really do little framing. We have all that done on the outside, people who know what they're doing, and I think that adds a lot to it. It's not something we just throw together and hang up there, and I think that's a benefit. Engaging customers, just like Jan, we're on our feet about 99% of the time, and I think you need to go out, even in the aisles, and talk to people. And I can't tell you how many times we've sold work that way, even if it's just casual conversation, or discussing doing a commission. Maybe they don't quite like something you have. I can't tell you. I was talking to Mary earlier. I think we sold maybe $3,000 or more after the show from people who had stopped, couldn't make their mind up, but called us later. So that's on top of what we had made at the show. So it's an incredible show. Jumping back to the artwork, there's always stories behind the images. I try to discuss that with the customer, or if it's something they remember. Again, that's a big benefit. Credit cards, just as Jan had mentioned too, you almost have to take those now. And being able to do everything on the smartphone is a big benefit, and we did that for the first time at this show last year, and it worked out great. So I would highly recommend that. And that's basically it.
Okay, Terry, thanks. I want to remind everybody that we're going to do questions and answers at the end of this, so let's just go right on into Anita Hopper.
Hi. I hear some laughter there. I just happened to have this picture, and I thought, this is exactly the way I felt when Eric asked me to do this. And it's also the way I felt the first time I did a show. And I feel like even though I don't do anything that I feel is all that special, I realize that I do a lot of things that I don't even realize I'm doing, or at least I didn't until I sat down and started writing some of these things out. But I wanted to just say, next slide is great. I'm going to kind of tell you what I do before, during, and after a show. So the first thing I focus on in the before part, of course, would be products. And on the side of the products, I agree totally with what everyone else has said, but I want to make sure that I have enough for a well-stocked booth at all of my various price points. When I first started, all I made was large bags, and now I have price points that range all the way from $28 to $400 in my booth. And case in point, last year I had my highest grossing show ever, where I sold 200 items averaging $40 each and did not sell one large item. So you have to really be prepared. On the booth side of things, we can go to the next slide. One of the things I wanted to say is that I don't think at this show that location is a big deal, because I've been in the food aisle for the last 2 years and have done extremely well there. And the bonus to that is, since I hardly ever get out of my booth, I get to eat Judy Co's noodles for every single meal. So my husband enjoys that too, because he's always there with me helping out. For me, my booth, I want it to be warm and inviting and showcasing my products well. And I also want it to be flexible enough that I can shift things around if I need to. I pay a lot of attention to retail display and merchandising trends for the type of products that I have and my target audience. And you can do this by just looking on Pinterest for booth display ideas, seeing what other people do, or I even enjoy going to retail stores such as Anthropologie, where they have a lot of really creative displays, and it just kind of gets the juices flowing, and I get new ideas of maybe better ways I could do things. I do change my booth frequently. You could ask my husband about this. He probably would roll his eyes a little bit, but he trusts me on that. He carries all my things around for me. So let's see. Oh, well, okay, you can go. Yeah. In this slide, I just have an example of kind of the tags. I print off all my own tags. I like to coordinate everything for a cohesive look that relates to my products. And so everything from my logo, banner, any signs that I have, colors, materials, and tags, I feel they should have a consistent look and feel. And then the last thing on the booth, I would say lighting is extremely important. And then one other thing on the before I wanted to touch on is that my downfall is that I don't have a mailing list. I just need to get some help on that because I know I need to do that. But what I do use is Facebook. I have a Refined Originals Facebook page, And I use that religiously to promote and inform of people, inform people where I'm going to be next. And I can interact with followers. I think I almost have 900 followers on my page now. And a lot of times I can interact with those people before, during, and after a show. And I always post a picture when I write a post, because those are the posts that really get the attention. And sometimes I'll pay $5 or $10 to boost a post right before a show. And sometimes people will come running into my booth having seen a bag that I posted a picture of on Facebook, asking, I came for that bag, do you still have it? And so Facebook works really well. Really encourage people to use that. During the show, I always have someone, as Jan was talking about, to take care of my transactions so that I can really focus on interacting with people. In my case, most of the time my husband is helping me, and we can make a pretty good team because I am not very good with numbers, and so I need to have somebody there that I can completely trust to do that part. I know, or at least I've learned, that with the products that I make, there are two things that I can say that will get people's attention and get them to come into my booth. And the first is that I'll just say everything in my booth is made from recycled or repurposed leather. And then I tell them that I make all the bags myself. And even though I have signs in my booth that say all those things, and these people are at an art fair where they should know that, of course, I would be making what is in my booth, it seems like they need to be told that. And so as soon as I say something like that, I can just see people's eyes light up, and they start to ask questions, and they want to touch things. They come in, and normally it can result in a sale. So when people are in my booth, I want them to feel really special, and so I never push. I just try to give great customer service and to really interact with people in a meaningful way. And when they leave, I give them a card and tell them where they can find me and ask them to like my Facebook page. Okay, I think I'm ready for the last slide. This slide is just an example of a simple sheet that tells me what I sold at a show. I'm not seeing that come up there yet, but it's just a simple list that says what I sold. So when I know that I sold 19 headbands or 7 large bags, I can compare and I can figure out kind of what I'm going to need to make for the next show in light of what I've sold at past shows, and hopefully I'll be even more prepared for the next show. So I think that is all. I think that's all I have. So I really appreciated what everybody else shared too. Lots and lots of good ideas there.
Okay, Anita, thanks. That's the end of the artists. We're now going to move on to the foodists and start with Donna Adams. But before we do that, I thought I've been taking notes, and I've been trying to kind of look at what themes keep coming up, and I've got 6 of them here. One is involve family members or other helpers to help with the transactions or with customer interaction. That seemed to come up with just all 3 speakers. So did take credit cards. Anita probably said it best about having plenty of inventory and at a variety of price points from low to high. Booth design needs to be inviting. I think Terry Armstrong probably said it best when he said you need to be on your feet about 90% of the time, and even going into the aisle is smart. And then lastly, invite all of your clients or your Facebook and church friends if you don't keep a client list. The themes seem to come up a lot with the artists. Let's see if they keep coming up with the foodists. So Donna Adams from Windsor Walled Winery, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I'll be saying about the same things, but in a little bit different way. I'll go ahead and start with before the event, we also do send out postcards provided by the Marketplace, and we do have a slide for that. Now, of course, I write them a little bit nicer. I just scratched this up for this particular slide. But I wanted to know a couple of things on there. Make sure that you put your return address on there so they know who the postcard's coming from instead of just generally from the Marketplace, because if they're your customer, they're going to want to come because you're there. We also always mention what the booth number is that we're in so they can find us quickly. And then for wine, at least, if they have any large orders, say they're going to order a case of Riesling or something, we ask that they call ahead of time and we add our toll-free number on the postcard so that they can let us know that and we can have enough product available for them and we stick an extra case of Riesling, for example, on the truck. Our next slide. Like the other artisans, we do create a Facebook event a couple of months out from the Artisan Marketplace. We have ours on both of our retail locations' Facebook pages right now. And then we do a several posts a few weeks out from the event itself, reminding people to come to the event, or posting specials that we might have at the event, or certain new releases of wines that we'll be having at the Marketplace to create some interest. I try to do Twitter. I'm not a good tweeter, but I do that as well. And we have a very, very large email database, and we send that out to all of our customers in advance as well. But what I should say about all that is your customer contacts need to be good customer contacts, and if you don't have a very good list, then those kind of activities don't work very well. So we spend a lot of time collecting email addresses and information about our customers year-round every year. We've been in business for 11 years, so we have a pretty big database. But we do simple things like in our tasting room, always ask people, especially if they're buying a certain price point of products, to sign our email list. And we also ask them, instead of just to add their name and their email, to either put their zip code or their city, so that when we're doing emails and notices later, we can target people in specific areas instead of email blasting everybody when they may not have an interest in a particular event, for example, that's so far away from them they may not attend. So we also do collect regular addresses for snail mail, and obviously because we send these postcards out, we use those as well. The postcards usually go out to people within about a 2-hour radius of the Marketplace, and not to everybody. The next web slide. We do as well keep detailed records of everything that we sell at each show. We do this in QuickBooks, but we have a visual here of an Excel spreadsheet that we also use that tallies up all of our sales and then also provides some statistics for us about the particular event. Our tasting ratios as a percentage of sales. We use that as a good metric to show whether we're tasting a lot of product but not selling a lot of wine, so we can think about which marketplaces and events we want to attend based on that metric. We do not want to sell out of wines. Everybody thinks that's a good thing, but for us it's not. What that means is I'm missing sales. And it also means that customers are coming up to the booth and we're already sold out of a wine and they're unhappy. So this is important to us to bring enough product and even more product than we think we're going to sell. I don't mind taking it back home because it means that I made the sale, and so that helps my bottom line definitely. And for this particular marketplace, I think that art lovers are seasoned wine drinkers, so we do sell a little bit more wines in the higher price points and a little bit more drier wines than some other events. So I would just, anybody who's a winery owner, to bring a little bit more of your dry wines than you might otherwise have at other events for the marketplace. The next slide. We believe wholeheartedly, this is our mantra, I guess, because the more you taste, the more you sell. So our booth, we want to maximize our tasting space. So we don't want people standing in long lines because we can see them at really busy times, especially on Saturday at the marketplace, where they'll come to the booth, and if there are long lines, they'll just keep moving on to the next winery. You don't want that to happen. So it is important for us to make sure that our counter space is free of clutter and that we have a lot of counter space for people to taste at. And, I mean, it is worth it to pay the extra price for a corner booth or for a double booth so that you can maximize the amount of wines that you taste, because if you have a quality product, the more wines you can taste, the more wines you're going to sell. I mean, it's an absolute bottom line there. And then besides having the counter space and the big enough booth, you need to have enough people in your booth to pour the wines for them. So we always have at least 3 people in our booth. One's usually checking out people, and at least a minimum of 2 people are pouring wines. And at peak times, we have more than that. Of course, you need a bigger booth to fit that many people in your booth, but we usually have a 1.5 or a double booth. And then in addition to getting all your customers out to the marketplace, obviously the marketplace is a great place to get new customers. So what we concentrate on is providing our booth, the feel and look of the booth to attract people to the booth, making sure you have a big banner so they know who you are and what you are, because just the fact that you have wine and free tasting is going to attract people to your booth. Any food or wine will attract people to your booth. So make sure that it's tastefully done. You have a tasteful banner. They always want to know who you are, where you are, and what you have to sell. So do those 3 things in the booth and make it explicit, and then it's easy for them to know whether or not they want to come to your booth. If they don't like wine, then they know they don't want to come to your booth. And I'm with all the other people on this one. You absolutely have to engage the customer. We never, ever, ever in the Windsor Wall booth allow anybody to sit on a chair in their booth. The chairs are behind the curtains. If you are in the booth, you are standing up and you are talking to people and trying to get them out of the aisles to taste your wine. That is another one for us. These are potential customers, and they're great customers. Wine lovers are art lovers are wine lovers, so it's a really good mix. And you should be promoting your product lines and making a connection with the customer, because what that's going to do is keep them buying your wine in the future. We also use the marketplace in all of our events to keep selling after the show. Like Terry said, I think it's Terry, he said a lot of his money is actually after the show as well. We have our mailing list for people to sign right at the show. And as a winery, we also have our shipping affidavits that the state of Indiana requires us to have signed by customers, because without them, you're not allowed to ship to them since it's alcohol. So we have to have a lot of those at the show, so everybody signs the shipping affidavit so that we can ship product to them later as well. And then I always put something in their bags as a to-go, and whether that's a wine list or an order form, or a really good another one, and I think that's on our next slide, is just a copy of an upcoming event list so that they know other events and wine shows that they can come to in their area and buy our product in the future as well. So just 2 things there, just to sum up, I guess, is to not only get your customers to the show, but really concentrate on engaging customers for new customers in the future.
Okay, Donna, thanks. Judy Coe, last but not least.
Hello, this is the Noodle Lady. That's what they all call me, and that's just fine. Find a way to connect with the customer. The way we use is through the past, their grandma. We have, like Grandma used to make on our banner, and that seems to draw attention because it takes people back to a place where they felt comfort and cozy. And many times I'll ask the customer if they remember making noodles with their grandma, and so many do, especially people our age. And so that's what we want to do that. And the next thing, Jeff, noodle on. Give samples when possible. It's this simple. They taste, they buy. I must tell you this story about a lady that came by. She was about 70 years old, and she looked, when she saw the sign, like Grandma used to make, she looked like, let's just see about this. And so we gave her a sample of chicken and noodles, and she took a bite, and she started getting tears coming down her cheeks. And she said, "These are my mother's noodles." And I went out of the booth around and put my hand on her shoulder, and she pulled her head to my shoulder, and she just stood there and had her head on my shoulder for probably a couple minutes until I said, "We never forget our mothers, do we?" And then she let go, and she was on her way. But things like that make me, when I get up in the morning and I think, I don't know if this is something I want to do or not, I think, yes, it is. This is a service to people to bring back the past to them. And so we really go a lot on connecting with the customer through the past. So the second slide was, they buy. Okay, the third one here. Have your family help with the booth. That's my little granddaughter, Aubrey, and she was helping get an email list started there. And people just love to see family working together, especially young people. And I might add, too, that I have my workers that actually work here for me be a part of it, too, because the people really can connect again with somebody that actually makes the noodles, is actually there. And they like to see that, and they like to meet them. I might add, let's see, people are always asking, where is Lynn, Indiana? So I got a map, and I take it with me and mark where Lynn is so they can see, and that's another way they can connect. Many times they'll say, oh, I have somebody that, a friend or relative that lives in Richmond. How far is that? That just gets the conversation going to make you a friend. The next slide, attractive retail bags. One Saturday night later than what my grandchildren usually stay up, they were here, and I said, I would like to get some really nice retail bags for the marketplace, and they helped me pick these out on the Internet. And I actually have a green bag, too, that has green dots on it, and we usually put, like, the wide noodles in the black and white bag, and the green noodles in the thin ones in the green bags. And I'm telling you, I got to the point where I thought people were coming to buy the bags, so they have the bag instead of the noodles. They love these bags. And they said, oh, this is where the people have been getting these bags. And all over the hall, people were carrying these bags. And the more bags you could get in people's hands, the more bags you sold. So that is a real important thing for me. Another thing is, if I had the time, people, sometimes it gets so busy that you cannot do this. But when I can, I like to really be personal with the person that makes the purchase. They make the purchase, and I will shake their hand, or I thank them so much for trying them out. And I tell them that if they have any problems at all making the noodles, to call me. They can call me anytime. And that means a lot to them, too, because a lot of people think that they've got your taste there at the marketplace, but it's not going to be the same when they get home. They think they can't do it, and I tell them it's very easy. And then the next year they'll come back and say, I took that recipe and I made them, and they turned out just like yours. And so I'm always glad to hear that. Okay, the last one is take the opportunity to say yes to any media offers. This is the time that you've got to shine, and this is many people watch TV in the mornings, and this is when I was on Indy Style, and the next one was when Sherman came to the marketplace, and he did a segment there. and that was the same year. That was 2 years ago. And there were people that came just to see me because I was on TV. So that was a great help that year. And I would just say it's not a time to be bashful. When they call you on the phone, say, you bet I'll be there. I would love to be on your show. Because that's people, they like to acquaint themselves with people that are on TV. So I think that's all I have, Eric. Oh, that's right. We have one last one. We caught this shot of Eric at one of the marketplaces, and I just had to put that in for him. That's it.
Judy, thanks. I think Eric is still on the line. Eric, are you there?
I am. Judy, thanks. I was eager to see what over and out meant and why you used a picture of me. I took notes from what Donna and Judy said and came up with three more themes that sort of repeated from what the artist said. Bring plenty of inventory and don't miss out on sales. I thought Donna's point there was really good. It's smarter to have more than to run out. Another was, in addition to good booth design, which came across a lot with the artists, have good signage. I think all Donna and Judy mentioned the importance of having signage in your booth. And then lastly, think of a good line or lines to connect with the guests and to start the conversation. And the line might be a little crass. Anita said that she makes it a point to say that I make these myself. Judy said, call me if you have questions. She also said, did you make noodles with your grandmother? It's think of a good conversation starter that draws the guests in, and then you can make the sale from there. Thanks, you five. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. We're going to go to questions now. Jeff, do you want to talk about how this happens?
Sure. If you've got a question, and we've got some already coming in, if you're on the phone, just hit *2, and that'll raise your hand, and I'll open up your phone line. And then, Eric, we've got a couple of questions on the webcast, and I'll either read those or try and email them to you. It may be easier if I just read them to you. And we've got Joanne from Well, I can't tell where she's from, but Joanne, your line's open. If you have a question, just go ahead and say something. Joanne Hoffer? Joanne, can you hear me? Well, I've got her line open, but I don't hear her. Eric, well, let me go to the questions that we've got coming through. How many postcards do you send altogether? How many email invitations did you send? This question came in when Jan was talking at the very beginning. Jan, if you're still there, can you answer that?
Yeah, I think we were given about 100 postcards that Eric sent a bundle of them, and I just used everything that I was sent. And then I probably have maybe another 100 email addresses that I, sent evites of the same thing.
And maybe to add just a little bit more to that, every year we have these postcards created, and I think we print maybe 15,000 of them and just divvy them up equally to all artisans. And I've heard both sides of the fence. One side is, I never use those and I don't understand why you waste money mailing them me. And the other side is, you send me 100, but I really could use 800. So now that we've got some experience behind us in the 3 marketplaces, this year I'll send out an email and it'll have a graphic of here's what the postcard looks like. How many of these would you like? And if you don't want any, that's fine. And if you want, way more than 100, that's fine too. We'll package up the right amount for you and we'll send them to you.
Great idea.
Yeah, I usually send out about 200 postcards. This is Donna at Windsor Wald. And we do an email blast to about 4,000 customers.
Another thing we'll do this year, and we did it last year, but I wasn't very good at getting it out, is we're working with Karen Hampton and her design firm down in Evansville. Karen, as you know, is an Indiana artisan, is a fiber artist. for all of the design work for this year's marketplace. And one of the things that Karen will create for us is the header for an email template. And once that's designed, I'll send it out to all of you. And then for those of you who have an email list and want to use this template as a header, it'll be a collage of work that's at the marketplace and the marketplace logo. You can use it. For those of you who don't do an email blast, you can just delete it. But all of you will have that too.
Okay, Eric, again, the lines, if you want to ask a question, just hit *2, *2. And we've got another question after this. Lydia from Fort Wayne says, I'm a Fort Wayne-based Indiana artisan and jewelry designer. My work is high-end. Lowest price point is about $200, highest around $3,000. I've never done the event. In part, I can't afford cases. Also don't know if the event would support work as expensive as mine. I'd love any input.
Let me just tell you a story, and then the panelists can talk. It just crushes me when I hear artisans say things like, my work is too high-end, or my work is not appropriate for this audience. And then I get a call like I got this morning, and I get these kind of calls all the time. I got a call from an artist in Michigan who was recommended to participate in the marketplace by one of the Kentucky crafted artists that he knows. He's a jeweler, but he just makes, from what I saw, just rings and pendants, nothing like what you make, Lydia. And he told me it's gold. I think he said his price point starts at about $600. And I told him what I just told you, that I hear from the artisans that participate that this is a lower price point event. And he said, that's not how I look at it. I look at it as a marketing opportunity, and I want to touch base with the Indianapolis area market. Like I said, he's from Michigan. And he said, and I really have success at these places because I know how to do what I do and how to sell what I make. I thought, I hung up to that, and I hear from painters that say, I really want to be at this show. This show, the Kentucky painters say, I really do well here. But the Indiana artisan painters don't necessarily find the value in it. And so all of that to say, to answer this question, I think the marketplace is what you make of it. And while the survey we took last year said that the people, when they come in the door, intend to spend somewhere between $25 and $50, this year we're going to do the same survey and ask them as they leave, not as they come in, what did you spend? We have a much better idea. I think all price points work and all media work. I think a $5,000 painting is every bit as appropriate at this event as a $25 whatever it is that somebody makes for $25. But we've got 5 artisans on the line. What do you think? Terry, you're a painter. What do you think about high-end paintings?
Well, I think if the quality's there and it's an image that is pretty universal, it seems like, not that you can't use abstract and things like that. I don't think that's should be an issue at all, really. If you want to try the show, like any show, you're going to run into that, I think, regardless. So if that's your price range and it's worth it, you're going to get a customer or customers to it, I would think. So I don't think it would deter us if we were in that price range.
Anita, could you talk a little bit about this too? The images that you had on this webinar were sort of your lower price point items, but I know you have really expensive leather goods and that you've sold some at this event. Can you talk a little bit about it too?
Yeah, I was actually wanting to say something. I did kind of emphasize the lower price point, but this show for me happens to be probably, I sell more of my higher priced items at this show than probably any other show I do. So I usually come with quite a few, new larger bags that are going to be at least, they're not thousands of dollars, but they're maybe $300 or $400, and I do sell those bags. And there are a lot of shows I go to where I don't sell any of those. And so, I feel that there's, I think there's a desire in the people that come. They have, they want to buy things that are quality and the higher you know, the higher end items. So I would encourage, you know, the more people that come with higher end items, I think it just makes our show better and brings in a wider, you know, array of people, I guess. So.
And Donna, to kind of, yeah, go ahead.
This is Terry again, sorry. I just wanted to mention, too, and I forgot to when you asked me before, but a couple of our customers came by the second day. They may have not come there planning to spend the kind of money they did, but they had seen something, probably talked to their wives or their husband, and came back. So, yeah, I think the high-end still sells really well there.
And Donna, to kind of spread this out and to talk a little bit about foods, you do well with your wine sales at the marketplace. Can you talk about that? You know, how often do you sell by the case? How does this event compare to some of the other events you go to that where you sell wine?
Well, a lot of events that we go to where we sell wine are specifically targeted to wine drinkers, and the people who show up there are wine drinkers. So obviously our sales at those events are higher, whereas this is a show for artisans and not necessarily for wine drinkers. So there are a lot of people there who don't drink wine. So I don't, you know, based on the number of customers who come and the amount of wine that I sell, it's a little bit different than some of our shows. But because this is an artisan market, people do tend to drink more wine than other kind of gift shows where I'm doing a wine booth in the middle of a gift show, because high-end art draws wine drinkers. So we do very well with our wines. You know, we have a wine list that's broad, so it does have a wine for everybody on it, so I think that helps too.
Okay. Anybody else on the panel have anything to add to this?
Eric, just an FYI, I have emailed. A lot of questions came in. I sent those over to you. You may want to take a peek if you got a quick second.
Okay.
And again, if you're listening on the phone, just hit *2 on your keypad. That'll raise your hand. I can open up your line. I think the person that was asking the question before, she is on Skype, and that may be just a technology problem while we can't hear her.
Oh, yeah, there's some really good questions here. It says several artists have said they have 2 family members, friends helping them, one for business. What is the job of the second person? Anybody on the panel want to take that?
Eric, could you repeat that?
Yeah,
Sure.
I didn't hear the end of it.
It says several artists said they have 2 friends or family members helping. One is for business. What is the job of the second person?
Oh, the other person, that's me. I'm out there talking to people. Okay? So I have one person is like behind the desk and does all the money transactions, and then the other person's just talking to customers.
Anybody else want to talk about what your second or third person in the booth does?
This is Judy, and we have to have about 5 or 6 people because it takes 2 people to be giving samples because so many people come at once. And then I usually take the money and visit with the people. And then we also have to have someone behind the curtain fixing more samples. We go through about 18 of those big roasters in the weekend of the marketplace. And then if we can have another person to take over when somebody else needs a break, that's important too.
Okay. Somebody asked, how do you create a Facebook page for your business? And another person said, how do you create a Facebook event page? I'll send out an email on both of those things to be helpful to, because there's a lot of people who could use that kind of help. For the panel, another question is, what types of lighting are used for artwork, such as paintings or photography? Terry, since you're the painter, that might be another one for you. What kind of lighting do you use in your booth?
It's a real neutral light. Eric, I can't remember the name of it, but I think we got that at Lowe's, I believe. And they're just clip on the back of the panels, or to the top of the panels, and then you can aim them in different directions to the artwork. But I always look for a medium light, not one that's too warm and not a blue light. And if you, no matter where you go, if you tell them what you're going to use it for, they'll have a variety of those. And I think even when we started Indiana Artisan, there was an expert on that that you knew or that was down there that could say, here's the exact type of lighting you should use in a booth. But I guess that's the only thing I could say is just keep it more neutral, not too warm, not too blue. And it seems to work pretty well. But I think that I don't know the exact name of the type of light that I use, but I pretty much went by the people at Lowe's on that to see to show me what they had and what would work. So,
Anita, you have pretty good lighting in your booth too. Do you do anything special?
Well, the lighting that I have, let's see, I bought that from the Trimline people, which Trimline is who makes, you know, the tents or the canopies that we use in our outdoor shows, and so I bought a Trimline tent or canopy, and I can use the the insides of that without the canopy to set up my lights, so it makes it really easy. So I don't know as far as bulbs are concerned. I know that you, like Terry said, you can go to Lowe's and they see all of the examples, and you definitely don't want to have too blue, you know, and kind of that daylight looking light. And they've totally changed light bulbs now, so it's difficult. I think it's harder to figure that out. But as far as just the lights themselves, I bought exactly what goes with my tent, and I can use it inside or outside.
The next question I'm going to ask each of you five to answer, and I'll talk just a little bit about it first so you have time to think about it. But what is the average price point that the participating artists sell at the marketplace? So if each of you five would think about what your average price point is, we'll go around. But I can tell you hall-wide, you know, when you look at all of the artisans participating, the low is probably a $2 or $3 chocolate, a truffle, up to a high, and I think probably the woodworkers, the furniture makers are the high. I recall there was a $10,000 table, wooden table that was handmade at last year's marketplace. I know that 2 years ago there was a $6,000 painting. So from a low of 2 to a high of 10 that I absolutely am certain about. There may be a few things lower and a few things higher, but overall that's the range. But why don't you five just quickly say, you know, my average price point is X, and we'll just go in the order that you spoke in. So,
okay, this is Jan. I range from $30 for, that'd be the lowest pair of earrings, up to probably around $200 for a pendant, or like some of my fancier bracelets. Maybe I sold probably a lot of things like $85 to $100 range, and then also a lot of earrings. But I mean, I kind of sold things at all different price points, from lower to high.
Terry, what's your average price point?
I was just talking to Mary. It's the same with us. We've got things as low as $5 and then on up to $3,000, but we sold a good variety of them. So I don't know if $50 is a point or not, because it was up and down quite a bit. I guess that's what I would stick with if it was just a single number. But there were a lot of high-end pieces though as well. So, but many more of the, you know, I'd say lower end. So, does that help?
It does. Anita, how about you?
I think that my price range is $28 to $400. I think my average would be around $40 to $50. You know, maybe a little more than that, but probably I'd say $50.
Donna, I know you're a little different with the wines, but what's your average sale?
Well, our wines range from $10 to $25, and we actually have this metric. Our average sale at the marketplace is $48.
Okay. And Judy?
So about 3 wines.
Okay, our 1 pound package of noodles is $4, and then we have a 3 package deal for $10. And it'll be the new customers might get the 1 package. The return customers will get the 3. But then there's a lot of new ones also that get the 3. So that's $4 and $10.
Okay. Another question with easy answers. As a food artisan, do we need further permits for sampling food? And you do not need a further permit, but you do need to register with the Department of Health for this event, and we send out a link to that form. It's an online form, and it's just a one-pager, pretty much nothing more than name, rank, and serial number. But the Board of Health does need that form filed for this event, and I'll send a link to that. And the same person said, how can I place an ad in the Marketplace booklet? We'll also send out a one-sheeter that lists all the different variety of ad sizes and their costs, and all the artisans are welcome to advertise. You certainly don't have to, but all are welcome. That's the easy answers to those 2. Wow, Jeff, we do have a lot of questions. One artisan, a food artisan, just wanted to make a point rather than to ask a question, to say that there were, in the food aisle this year, there were food artisans standing in front of her booth sampling their foods, and so she was just asking that to avoid confusion among the guests, it's better if you're going to go into the aisle to provide samples or to attract people to your booth, do it in front of your own booth, which makes lots of sense. Let me see.
Just sent you a couple more too, Eric.
Give me just a second here. Some of these questions are really long, and I'm trying to get to the actual question. One says, most of my items are large items, which I don't have much inventory for. Should I focus on building more large items or smaller cash and carry type products? I think that's really up to you. Again, you're kind of in charge of your own destiny here. I think if you have large and high price point items, they'll sell if you're a capable salesperson. But one thing we do know, based on the survey we took last year, is that as they come in the door, they intend to spend somewhere between $25 and $50. But anecdotally, we know that as they go out the door, they have spent much more than that. And this year, we'll find out how much that was. So I guess that's kind of the answer. You probably ought to come with lower price point items. I tell the painters who say, you know, my lowest painting starts at $500 or $600, that it's really smart to create note cards with those paintings as the cover and then sell those $10 sets of note cards as your low price point item. Still your painting, but it's a low price point item to kind of get the person to come into your booth and to help you make a sale. Somebody else made a comment in answer to the lighting question. It says for jewelry, MR16 bulbs are good. I don't know what that is, but if you go to Lowe's, ask for that if you're selling jewelry.
This is Jan. I want to talk about lighting. I brought a table lamp and a matching floor lamp, and they were wonderful. It just gave kind of a homey, nice kind of light for the jewelry, because you want to have it closer than probably maybe the way that you would light paintings or something else. So that works fine.
The third webinar, 2 weeks from tonight, is going to focus on booth design and pricing your items to maximize your booth traffic. So a lot of these questions we've just talked about will be covered then. And those panelists that night, 2 weeks from tonight, are largely the best in show booth winners from all 3 of the last years. One of those, as a matter of fact, the first Marketplace winner is Tom Winsack. And for those of you who can picture Tom's booth, and for those of you who haven't been to a Marketplace, I can tell you he has about, I'm going to say at least 10, if not 15, small lamps all over his booth that throw off a real yellow, warm, colored light in his booth. He's a potter, makes redware, and which has, is largely red and kind of a mustard color anyway, which plays well off that yellow light. But even from a distance, you just want to go into Tom's booth because it is so warm and inviting, that yellow color. And he's going to be a panelist 2 weeks from tonight, so he can talk a lot about lighting too. All right, we're past the 8:30 mark. Go ahead. Somebody started to talk?
It was Donna at Windsor-Wald. I know we don't use overhead lighting or anything there, but we do use backlighting behind our wine bottles to make them pop at the marketplace too. So we do use a little bit of lighting ourselves.
I tell you, I have consistently heard since we started doing this event that fluorescent lighting that throws off a bluish colored light is bad for everybody. So it's bad for food, it's bad for art, that the warmer hues of lighting seem to work. And I think Terry's advice of just going to Lowe's and saying, here's what I'm going to do, what you advise, is probably not a bad thought at all. Even the guys at Lowe's, I think, can probably be helpful in this. In the interest of meeting our time, let's wrap up. Jeff, what's our next slide?
It's the Bruce Baker's. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just talk a little bit about Bruce Baker. Most artisans participate in shows, from paint-outs to farmers markets, from our annual marketplace, and I've been talking more and more with you artisans who participate in national shows like the American Craft Council and the Philadelphia show. More than a dozen will be at this year's Kentucky Crafted Market down in Lexington. On the 28th of January, Bruce Baker is coming to Indianapolis from his home in Vermont and is going to give us 7 hours focused solely on preparing for, maximizing, and following up a trade show. His focus largely is on selling art, but this will be every bit as valuable to the foodists as it is for the artists. He'll provide great advice that you can use at the marketplace. Even for those of you who aren't coming to the marketplace, this is advice, like I say, you can use at your farmer's market on Saturday or at the American Craft Council show. Bruce has been at this for about 30 years. He pretty much is the nationally recognized speaker on selling art and to a large degree foods also. If you go to our website, there's a promo there. The cost for this day-long workshop is $70. It's a 7-hour workshop, so that's $10 an hour, and I think a good investment in your business. That price includes lunch, which will be brought in from McAllister's Deli. Registration is very simple. All you need to do is send me an email. Like I say, there's great detail on our website, so go there first and learn what's in this for you. And then also bring friends. We're going to open this up to not just to artisans, but to artists and foodists statewide, again, with that thought of creating a statewide community. And Bruce's advice is really valuable, so we thought, let's just bring everybody in. So encourage your friends to register too, and like I say, registration is nothing more than an email to me. On the website, you'll see, in addition to that email to me, include your phone number where you can be reached that day, just in case the weather is bad on the 28th of January. That gives us a way to say, hey, we're moving this, or we're canceling it. And that's about all I have as wrap up. Jan, Anita, Terry, Judy, Donna, thanks again for your leadership tonight. I think you set the bar really high. This turned out really well. I was eager to see how it was going to go as a first-time effort, and I think you guys knocked it out of the park. So thanks a lot.
Eric?
Also, yeah.
This is Terry Armstrong. Can I mention one other thing I meant to mention earlier? It's just a quick note. Whoever's designing the postcards, is there any way they could leave a little more white space on the back for labels? And I know it's a minor.
Sure.
I didn't know if that was if they're starting on that right now or not. So
we are working on that, and Terry, I hear that every year. Artisans like to write notes, like Donna had on hers. See me in booth XYZ. So yes, we absolutely will leave more white space this year.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. Jeff and Carol Bell, thank you again for hosting this and for making this webinar technology possible. I want to remind everybody that we're having another webinar next Tuesday night. We're going to do this for 3 Tuesdays in a row, and then the 4th Tuesday will be the Bruce Baker workshop. So next Tuesday night, again at 7:30. The topic's going to be using Etsy, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to promote your work. So if you're interested in leveraging social media to promote your business and your work, tune in for that. Again, it's free. Just all you have to do is call in. I also want to make an appeal. I've sent out all 7 webinar topics. If you have expertise in any of these topics, adding you to these panels just makes this conversation much more robust. So if you have an interest in being on the panel, please let me know. And there's still a couple of artisans that I intend to reach out to and try to rope into this because I think they have expertise in an area. So please let me know that. Lastly, Jeff has been taping this, both the audio and the video, and we'll put a link to this webinar on our website. So if you want to refer back to it to catch something that you might have missed, it'll be there for you to use. And of course, artisans who weren't able to dial in tonight can also dial in or click that link later and catch up. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Jeff, do you have anything?
No, I think that's it. We want to thank everybody for being on the call. Eric, thank you. Thanks again for all the artists. And then, as they used to say on Batman, same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.